There it is.
All right, we're ready.
All right, good evening. Welcome to the May 17th Board of Selectmen's meeting. I'd like to start, call the meeting to order and start with a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
All right. Before I start with scheduled business, I think I need to start with reading a letter, an email that the Board of Selectmen got, and I think the word is kind of already out via social media, but I'll read this email. It's from Selectboard member Edvin Kronalik. It came this morning. Good morning. I first want to thank you all for everything during my time as Selectman. It was truly a pleasure to work with you all. At this time, due to time constraints in my personal and professional life, I am resigning as Selectman effective today. Thank you, Edvin Kronalik, Selectman, Town of Newton, New Hampshire. So let me be the first to say thank you to Mr. Kronalik for his service to the board. So any members have any other?
Like I told him on the phone, he'll be missed.
Yep. No, I sent my prayers to him and told him I hope all goes well with him and his family.
Great. You know, I mean, the hardest thing is to take yourself out of the game, which is a sports analogy, but you really have to have respect for people who do, because Edvin's got a young family. He's got personal and professional things. Everybody's trying to balance those, and he's trying to do the right thing for the town, which is all anybody asks of any of us. So at this point, I'd like to make a motion to accept the resignation of Selectman Edvin Kronalik effective May 17th, 2022.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
And that's unanimous. So what's on everybody's mind, I think, is what happens next. So we do have a vacancy in the board, effective, a minute ago. So what happens, and I've asked Diane to solicit input from NHMA just in case I'm totally wrong. So I assume have you had a response yet?
I haven't, but I've done some research,
Okay.
and basically, the board, the three of you and the board has to appoint somebody.
Right. So
That person will fill out the term until next town election. At that point, if they choose to run, then they can run for his position, and they would fill out the rest of his term. So let's say he resigned in 2022, his term doesn't end till 2023, till 2024. You would stay until 2023 of March.
Right.
If you got elected, then you would stay till 2024, and then you'd have to run again. I think I got all that in there.
So the unenviable position you would be in is you'd
Be running 3 times,
be
basically.
running 3 times,
Yes.
but if you decide to. So I think and we'll hear from the board, but I think the important thing is that we get the word out to the public, so those who are interested have enough time to send us an email, a letter of interest, maybe a resume, and then normally what would happen, and Diane, jump in if you think I have this wrong, is the RSAs are specific for elected positions, so this would happen in public. We would invite people, I think this is what the board will probably want to do, invite people to come on a specific night. It's a Meet the Candidates night. I'm Joe Smith, I'm interested in this position. The board can ask questions of the candidate, people in the audience can ask questions of the candidate. We move on to the next one, we go through the whole group, and then as a board, the 3 of us, or whoever is there that night as a board member, would vote to select whoever that person is. So either that night or we have the ability, we could wait for another meeting. So
So I think
We have a hand up?
No, but I think Selectman Foot was there.
Okay.
I don't know if he's here as a selectman. Mr. Foot, did you want to speak? I take it that's a no. So
Okay.
what is?
So,
I was involved in one of them.
what's that?
I was involved in this particular situation at one time. And what happened is the Board of Selectmen in non-public interviewed candidates and chose a candidate.
Yeah, I think that is
So,
not
Hey,
allowed by the
I'm
RS.
just telling you what
We,
happened.
we should get an opinion, just don't take my word for it,
No.
but that is my understanding. So what I would propose to the board, if you guys think it's a good idea, is we pick a date on the calendar as a deadline for people to submit their interest, and then perhaps also pick a date where we could do this, meet the candidates night. What's everybody think about that?
Well, we already have one
One what?
candidate. I got an email,
Yeah, I've gotten 4.
have you? I
Yeah,
got one.
so, I mean, we have to make it official with a specific date, so what do you think, Bob?
Yep. So what's today's date?
Well, we have a holiday coming up, and I highly doubt the carriage, can we make the Carriagetown News for, like, kind of the help wanted ad in the Carriagetown News, the board's looking for? I mean, it's not a deal breaker, but it might be nice to have it in the
Put it in the
Carriagetown.
paper, I was thinking that.
So
Their
what's-
deadline is
pick a
Monday.
date, and then I can tell, are you looking to have this next week? It would be in the Carriagetown News next week if I can get it in for next week.
Yeah, see, what I'm thinking is we want to give a little more time than that.
No, but I mean,
Well,
get
to
it into
put
the
it in.
Carriagetown News.
Well, to put it in,
Yeah,
but like I just arbitrarily on the calendar, I was thinking the Friday before Memorial Day as a deadline for interest. So you could,
so that would only give them one day, and it would be out next week
Yeah.
in the paper, and then they'd only have 2 days.
To apply.
Yeah.
what's everybody think? Do we want to go longer than that?
You would? When's the paper come out, on
I
Tuesday?
would, yeah, I
Wednesday or
would put,
Thursday,
I'd get it in the
Oh, yeah,
paper
oh, yeah.
definitely for next week.
You'd only have one day.
And then I would take them until 17th to 31st would be the next meeting. I would say that we would probably, I would want to we could hold a special meeting because it calls for it, and we could do it maybe June 3rd on a Friday.
I would vote against the Friday.
All right, how about a Thursday?
Yeah, I think Wednesday or Thursday.
I
might-
don't think it has to be a special meeting, so I mean, it's not,
Here's my thing, I don't think it does either, but I think our agendas are so, this could be
okay,
you know what I'm saying? If
Now
we
I
have a lot of
understand. I
people
do.
interested.
That's
So
what I
something
mean.
separate.
So to have it a separate meeting.
Yeah. Because you could potentially do like June 1st, I think is a Wednesday. Is that correct?
Yep.
So if you had the meet the candidates night on June 1st, we have a meeting, I believe, on June 7th.
correct.
And
Correct.
we could have, if this is what the board wants to do, we could have the vote on June 7th.
That'll work.
So so basically, it's just meet the candidates, not really a meeting.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a posted meeting because the three of us at least the three of us will be here and have the ability to interview,
Yeah.
you know, just like the people would. So we have to post for it, but it'd be one agenda item. However, we never have one agenda item in any meeting, so I'm sure we'll sneak something in there, so. Everybody
Yeah, yeah, I'm
think
good
that
with
sounds like a plan?
Yep.
Anybody from the public have any input? If you have their phone number, give them a call. Say. Peachy knows how to get here. He can certainly contact us.
He just
And-
bought a place in Florida. He's not about to.
Okay. So does anybody want to make a motion to that effect, just so we make it official?
So let's clarify it one more time. I'll
Sure.
make a motion that we put it in the paper for next week, and that on June the 1st, all applications have to be in, and that we will have a meeting on
Well, you're having a meeting on June 1st.
The
Right.
meeting on June 1st, I'm sorry. So all applications would have to be in,
Well, wait, June 1st is a Tuesday?
Right?
Wednesday.
Right, so June 1st would be the deadline.
And then the
Right.
3rd
The
would be,
following, the
7th would be the meeting.
7th is our first
Meeting.
meeting of June, and that would be the vote,
right. but
When are you doing your
meeting? Yeah,
June 1st.
So when's your deadline to have their applications in, so to speak?
I would say the Friday before that.
By email then, because nobody's here on Friday?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, is that?
So how about if we say May 31st is their deadline,
That's
and
right.
that they have to be here on June 1st?
Because of the holiday, right.
Yeah,
All right, so May 31st is the deadline to submit a letter of interest,
yeah.
and June 1st, they will be here
Yep.
to be interviewed
For candidates night.
candidates night. Okay.
Can we
So
make,
that's the motion.
so that's a motion, anybody want to second that?
Second?
Seconded by Charlie, any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And all I would add to that is, goes without saying, it's on the website, right? Whatever you put in the paper will be on the website.
Yeah.
So, and people heard it here. So if you're interested, an email to Diane, do you want to give them your personal email account, or should I? So
Sure,
the-
mborough at,
Exactly. So it's BOS secretary at newtonnh.net. So that's right on our website. BOS secretary at newtonnh.net. Send an email, attach your resume if you want to. Just state that you're interested in consideration for this position. So, and then mark the calendar for June 1st. So
what time June 1st?
I like 6 o'clock. Anybody?
Yeah, 6 o'clock. sounds
6.
good.
Yeah, so, all right. Anything else on this subject? Okay. Item A, under scheduled business, is Southern New Hampshire Industrial Park request for use of easement on Howard Lane. Good evening. And just for folks who may be new, so they can hear you on cable and Zoom, we need you on a microphone, and if you could please just introduce yourself and your role and all that good stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Barry Geyer. I'm with Jones and Beach Engineers here for the applicant, for the Southern New Hampshire Industrial Park. We are here tonight to discuss Phase 2 of the industrial park and potential access to Howard Lane. To get a little background, Phase 1 is located on Puzzle Lane. Phase 2, as shown on my plan, will access off of 108 and contains 4 buildings with about 207,000 square feet. We are currently before the planning board and the zoning boards for Phase 2 of the project. Phase 3, which you can see up on the monitor, it will connect the end of the cul-de-sac that we're constructing in Phase 2 to the existing Puzzle Lane. Due to the length of the Phase 2 roads, we are proposing to utilize the existing right-of-way at the end of the Howard Lane to provide an emergency access to Phase 2. In a stroke of good planning, a 50-foot right-of-way was left at the end of Howard Lane to access the subject property. You can see the plat of Howard Lane here. This is a recorded plan that shows the 2 lots that were the last that were created for Howard Lane, and it shows the existing right-of-way that was left to access the property owned by the industrial park. The applicant is proposing to construct a 12-foot emergency access lane with the crash gate over the existing right-of-way. So the intent is that the only time, or if this lane would ever be used, is in an emergency if the actual access to Route 108 was blocked for some reason. And then there was emergency within the Phase 2 of the park. So a crash gate will be installed, always locked unless there is an emergency and needs access. After seeing the site plans, the planning board did request legal advice regarding the use of the right-of-way. The board's attorney indicated that it was up to the Board of Selectmen, which is why we're here tonight. With that, I'll take any questions the board may have.
So I think I'm stating the obvious. So what you're saying is there would be no traffic on this route unless there was an emergency.
Absolutely, there would be no traffic on this emergency access lane unless there was an emergency and industrial way, which is our proposed access to Route 108, was blocked. Because the length of the road is greater than the 1,000-foot cul-de-sac length that the town allows, we're asking for the emergency lane so that we can alleviate any safety issues that may occur.
How would you define an emergency?
Well, whenever the fire department, the ambulance needs to access the property.
So technically, you want the fire department to drive past Fuzzle Lane, down to Howard Lane, and out through this exit.
Only in the event that industrial way, the proposed that we're constructing, is blocked for some reason. So say there was a tornado that came through and it blocked the access to the project. So if there was a tornado came through, knocked down trees, you can't get here. There was an emergency in the park, and they could access up Howard Lane through the emergency access.
Well, according to the map that I'm looking at here, you can go out the other way.
I'm sorry?
According to the map that I'm looking at right here, you can go out the other way. You can go out Puzzle Lane instead of this other.
So phase 2 that we're connecting, in phase 3, we're proposing to construct the loop that connects the Puzzle Lane to Industrial Way.
Okay,
So we would only really need the emergency access for phase 2.
so what you're going to be looking for is to go over the 1,000-foot distance on, is it Industrial Way that you're calling the other section? Industrial Way would be over 1,000 feet long.
Correct.
Until you decided to do phase 3.
Correct. So by constructing emergency access, which hopefully will never have to be used, we can add a factor of safety to the project.
Why don't you go back and just put your roads in the way you need your roads put in versus trying to use Howard Lane?
Howard Lane, there was a right-of-way that was left just for this purpose, to access the property that we're proposing.
12 feet wide, it was a logging trail.
Well, no, the access is 50-foot wide. We're proposing a 12-foot wide access just to limit, because it doesn't need to be any wider. We're not proposing any traffic on this except in the event of an emergency where Industrial Way is blocked.
Well, from my understanding, the easement's only 12 feet wide.
No, the easement's 50 feet wide. Shows it right there, 50-foot wide. The proposed road that we're installing would only be 12 feet wide.
Well, good luck.
Bob, any questions? Anybody, if you don't mind, residents that have any questions?
As soon as he's got access, I believe that will be.
I muted her because
Okay.
Go ahead,
I need to, if you want to speak, you need to raise your hand and you have to be recognized by the board. And that's only if the board would like you to speak if you're on Zoom.
So I got a couple of head nods here. Does anybody want to come up in the room? Why don't you go ahead, ma'am?
They've been there.
And I think, why don't we do one in the room and then the next one on Zoom?
Okay.
Mary Ellen Davenport. I've lived on Howard Lane for 48 years. That road has always been just like a path to get into the woods when the woods were there. And I see this as just an excuse. I'm sorry, I don't believe the idea of an emergency. Mr. McDonough has not followed any rules, has not done anything. He just does what he wants to do and is constantly before every single board in this town to get variances for this and easements for that. He's constantly changing because he wants it his way and doesn't want to follow the rules. Our road is a very quiet street, has been, And I'm sorry, I don't believe his excuse is an emergency. I think once he gets permission to do this, he'll use this road for whatever he sees fit. And we will be stuck with 18-wheelers and 10-wheelers going down the street, because once you give him permission, he'll have the right to do it. And who the heck is gonna police the road if he goes down the road in an 18-wheeler or anything like that, construction vehicle? By the time we call the police to report, they're gonna be gone. So there's no evidence that he was even there. And I'm sorry, I just think this is a bunch of baloney, and I'm not for it at all. We want our street left alone. Thank you.
Thank you. And Diane, I think we had somebody on Zoom next.
Yeah. Where was she? I think it was Sabrina. Did you want to speak? And please state your name and where you're located.
So I'm just using my wife's account. I'm Matthew Clossy. I live at 9 Howard Lane.
I'm
just
sorry,
down the street
could you
from
repeat that, who you are?
Matthew Clossy.
And where you located?
9 Howard Lane.
Howard Lane, okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Lived here for about 13 years. As Mary Ellen said, very quiet street. There's been a lot of shenanigans, to put it lightly, that I've heard of, seen, witnessed. And I would question all sorts of burial back there before anybody started talking about roads. But again, I'm just going to leave it at that. There's been nothing good that's ever come from anything I've heard proposed. Ball fields once, and that was like short of something, but there's just too much that's sketch about this. And yeah, I like my quiet street, so I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room here with us? Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I'm Dan Sweeney at 11 Howard Lane, and we're the property that splits us, our house and the Bowmans. I don't know the history of that right away. Years ago, we were going through the ball fields and all that. Some woman from town, I don't know if it was like a sergeant person or the old families in town, I don't know, but they gave that to access into the back, and we were always given the impression that it was just used as a pass-through, no big deal. The only thing I've ever seen out there is a gas company truck. They got the gas line out back. A guy would park his vehicle there and walk through the woods and get out there. Obviously, we don't want it. That's a no-brainer. You know, it's like Mrs. Davenport said, it's a constant picking of, he wants this, he wants to change this, he changes that. Like Mr. Melvin said, you can get out from out to Puzzle Lane, like for an ambulance or something. I mean, what's going to happen at 2? I had an emergency this year at 2 o'clock in the morning. So who's going to go back on Howard Lane? But who's going to open up the gate at 4 o'clock in the morning to let an ambulance through? You know what I mean? What's going to happen there? So it's just another attempt, in our opinion, to just to make something happen back there. It's going to disrupt us. There's young kids on the street, a lot of young kids on the street, and yeah, we just don't really want it. So it's just another example of taking more. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Chairman, I just need to start the recording from my Zoom. Sorry, I forgot about it. Good thing I took good notes.
Yep.
Recording in progress.
Perfect.
Okay. I do have Jim Doggett has
Yeah, I
his
see
hand up.
his hand up. Go ahead, Jim.
Jim, all right.
Yeah, James Doggett, 39 Pond Street. I shared with Diane today the town's land use lawyer's opinion of the use of that right-of-way, which, by the way, is only 40 feet wide.
Jim, do you want to give us a synopsis of that?
Kevin has them up.
Very easy. It was given to the town to be used as a public road.
Question is, why can't they use the road right here that they used already?
Kevin, can you get that white block off the screen?
We don't even have to.
Do you
Sorry,
need
Jim.
that battery? Do you have one? I can give you mine if you need it.
That's Nancy, hold
I know
on.
the mic's live back there.
You can't see the people that are talking.
Hang on.
Thank you. We had to change the battery.
Oh, okay, I can do this.
So I think, Jim, what I meant by the synopsis is it sounds like the opinion is something to the effect of private way versus public way.
Correct.
And could you give us a brief, and I'm only asking Jim because he's the admin for the planning board, but could you give us kind of a short synopsis of what that means?
The roadway was meant to be a public road connecting to another public road.
Okay.
Those were the stipulations of the recorded plan for that right-of-way.
And that was in 1986. So,
Correct.
so are we saying that, I mean, Howard Lane is obviously a public way. Are we saying that Puzzle Lane is not?
Puzzle Lane is being proposed as a private road.
Okay. All right, and I think sort of how we got here is because the planning board, has the planning board already had a decision on this?
No.
And that decision then was, we have to give permission before it can go forward? Is that the?
So once again, Barry Geyer with Jones and Beach Engineers. You are correct. We are in front of the planning board.
Yep.
The planning board asked for the opinion from the town's, or the planning board's attorney, in which she indicated, and I have copies of the email, if the planning board determines that emergency access is required on the right-of-way, the selectmen would need to approve use of the right-of-way for emergency access. So we're in front of the selectmen.
Yeah.
I just want to rebut what was said about the road. The intent is never to use this as access to the property except for emergency. This plan, which you see in front of you, is what we have in front of the planning board. It's a 12-foot wide emergency access that has a gate on it to prevent anybody from accessing it. You can see the alignment of it and the width of it really preclude anything but a small vehicle from accessing it. Trucks aren't going to be able to use this. A fire truck could, maneuver, but it would not be easy. So we did that in order to make sure, and to prevent lights from coming down Puzzle Lane, shining into the people's houses along that area. So it'll be buffered.
The only thing the planning board has done is taken jurisdiction and we've been listening to what all the proposals are and all the different variances that are going to be needed for the plans. A bunch of them are in front of the zoning board at this time, and they're going through their 5 points of interest to see if the variances meet those regulations. And in lieu of what's taken place and what has come forth with what Mr. Doggett said, I had read it today and I wasn't quite sure if that's in fact how I did interpret it. And the way I'm looking at it right now is, like Mr. Doggett said, it would be illegal for us to give permission if that's the way that it was stated and put, that it needs to be a public road connected to a public road, and thus we would not feasibly be able to give permission to connect it to a private road.
Unless there has been a different legal opinion, I have the email provided by the attorney that indicates exactly like I said, that the right-of-way could be used if granted by the Board of Selectmen.
Well, I'm just going by the one that we just got today from the attorney.
What is the great need for this?
The need is for safety.
It's already safe.
Well, that's an opinion, and I agree. I think that it's okay to have it, but the town, the regulations require that the road length for a cul-de-sac not exceed 1,000 feet. And that was put in place for just a situation where if there was an issue, say a car accident at the entrance where Industrial Way hits Route 108, if there's a car accident at that location which blocks the entrance to this property, and say there was somebody had a heart attack in one of the buildings that we are proposing to build, how would you get there?
From either 108 on both ends.
Well, we don't, in phase 2, we're not connecting to
Well,
Puzzle Lane.
what are you gonna do? You can't go over 1,000 feet to get there.
Well, that's why if we put in the emergency access, which takes care of that situation, so then we can
So
require,
you're planning on using it as a loop.
in an emergency, we are requesting that it would be used as an
I
access.
still don't see a need for it. Okay.
Yeah, I think, do you want to come up to the mic?
I just had a simple question.
Nobody can hear you.
Yeah.
And please state your name.
My name is Marilyn Mancini. I didn't expect to talk tonight. I live on Howell Lane since 2007. I'm a citizen. I pay my tax like everybody else. And I just want to say that I just want to ask the question, how often in the last year an emergency has occurred? So what's the need for that?
There's 2 roads going down in there, going out back, 2 roads.
If you need to speak, you need to go to the microphone so people on Zoom can hear them, okay?
Yeah.
There's one thing I want to say.
Go ahead.
Because I've been working outside for all my life, and now because of COVID, I was working home for the last few years. I've been back into the office now for a year now, and I cannot believe, since I've been living there, the amount of noise during daytime. It was just like distracting me. And just 5 years ago, when I had a sick day or something like that, I've never heard any noises during the day. And now, since the last few years, you hear this rocking, like the dust in the sky. And it's like opening a door like this, a little crack, giving this access will open to something else. And I have no doubt about it.
So just to kind of follow up on a question somebody had, I think what I'm hearing is the planning board has told you guys that you need a solution in the event of an emergency in order to move forward, right? Like that's bottom line, right? So because some people are asking, Charlie makes a good point, like, my street's a cul-de-sac, there's only one way to get to my street. If my street was blocked, there's no other way to get to my street. We didn't put in an extra road just in case my street was blocked so that the ambulance could get there. What is the difference here? Is it strictly a commercial usage that is required?
Not at all. So
Okay.
we proposed this. The planning board did not ask us to put this in.
Okay.
So we are proposing a road that is greater than 1,000 foot in length. The town regulation limits it to 1,000 feet for this specific issue. So if there is an incident. Now, we're very glad there haven't been any emergencies, and we hope that there are never any emergencies at the proposed location of the industrial park. But we don't plan for no emergencies. You plan for the worst case scenario, and you hope for the best case. So what we came up with as, in lieu of the 1,000-foot limit for the length of cul-de-sac, an emergency access, which would provide a second way in, only in the case of an emergency. Now, the Board of Selectmen can say, if you access it for phase 2, as soon as you connect Puzzle Lane to Industrial Way, creating the loop, that you have to take that out. The applicant would be more than willing, and I think that would be a good solution to the safety issue, as well as meeting the needs of, or the requests of the homeowners in the area. Now, God forbid, something happens, you can't access it.
But I guess the million-dollar question is, if we didn't grant permission, what would you do then? What are your other options? Like, to me, I think what the public needs to hear is, this is option 1, option 2 would be this, option 3, option 4. The reason we're not doing 2 through 4 and we're proposing 1 is because...
1, the planning board could grant the waiver from the 1,000-foot,
yeah,
and that would be the end of it.
yeah.
2, if they didn't, the applicant could go ahead in phase 2, construct the remainder of the roadway, which would be premature, but it could happen if that was, required.
Anybody else have any thoughts?
I still feel, Matt, that they can turn around and come in on 108 by Newton, where Newton Chevy was, and have it come out on Puzzle Lane. Put the road in, because they've changed their plans quite a few different times.
Fire Chief, you have some input?
Good evening. I've had a conversation with Tom on this. I'm lost, okay? This is a town ordinance with a back office. I have no objection to the road being a little longer than 1,000 feet, so it doesn't need the turnaround, for the record. Second, if you go into Charlie put Puzzle Lane, I don't know how long Puzzle Lane is, but there's only one way in and one way out. So I'm lost. When this was brought to my attention, I'm lost on it. I'm learning town ordinances and bylaws from the planning board and zoning board. They hit the nail on the head. If you look at the plan, and I've disagreed with some of it, if you look at some of the requirements for a cul-de-sac, there's a cul-de-sac in a parking lot, just outside a parking lot. And my thing was, why can't the fire truck, the ambulance, the police cruiser drive into the parking lot and turn around? In and out. It's the same laneway, but instead, we have to have a cul-de-sac, a turnaround, with 2 entrances to a parking lot. My recommendation, and I will be submitting it in writing to the planning board, the fire department has no objections to allowing the extension over 1,000 feet. So we don't even have to have, well, it'd be up to them. But this discussion here, that's all it is, and it's a safety issue. Again, Puzzle Lane, we go to Puzzle Lane, I hate to say it, not on a regular basis, but we're there. If there's an accident in the front of 108 in Puzzle Lane, how do we get into Puzzle Lane? It's the same thing. Unless I'm missing something here. So I don't understand how Puzzle Lane didn't need an access road, but Industrial Lane needs an access road.
Well, just for your information, Puzzle Lane was a private road.
What's Industrial Way?
Puzzle Lane, I'm telling you about Puzzle Lane was a private road, and the Board of Selectmen agreed to take it over as a town road. So it was put in its distance, whatever it needed to go at that particular time, right? Because there was only one factory up there, which was the puzzle factory.
Correct.
And that's why it was allowed to go in. And then they came to the board afterwards and wanted to turn around and make it a town road. And a former board approved it. That's how it got there.
So it was already approved? It was approved?
Puzzle Lane was never approved as a town road in the beginning. And then later on, it was changed to a town road.
So if Industrial Way,
Industrial Way isn't even there yet.
okay, so Puzzle Lane was a private?
Yep.
It became town. So why can't you do the same thing for Industrial Way?
Well, he could do a private road, but he can't go over 1,000 feet.
I think where my mind's starting to go here, and somebody can tell me if they don't agree, but, and I hate to sound like I'm kicking the can up the road, but we actually need a joint meeting. We need the planning board and the Board of Selectmen, because the planning board has kicked this to us, which they do sometimes. For us, basically, in the way I read the legal opinion is if we bless this as a public roadway, then you guys are off and running, you're all set. But the planning board doesn't have the power to do so, so that's why they sent you here. I would feel more comfortable if we had a joint meeting, planning board, Board of Selectmen, road agent, fire chief, this attorney, and it's listed as a public hearing, so residents can come and express their pros or cons or whatever, and we could just kind of get this done with all the proper people in the room without everybody saying, this happened when, and I heard this. Because it sounds like there's more than one solution here, and I'd like to go with the best solution, the least disruptive solution. So, Mike, were you waving to?
Yeah, I want to go for just a minute.
Yeah.
And I agree with your thought process. I think it needs to be a joint meeting with planning board and selectmen.
Yeah.
Mike Pavero, road agent. A couple things. I'm going to try to compare apples to apples. When Sergeant Woods went in, for a long period of time, there was only one entrance in, one entrance out, until they made the loop all the way around. That certainly exceeded 1,000 feet. That's a private way. The complication comes, and somebody brought it up, if it's a town road, and the fire chief, police chief, we work together all the time. If it's an emergency and it's a one-way in and one-way out, I, as road agent, will make sure fire trucks, police trucks, and everybody else gets through that road. Whether it's be a hurricane, tornado, I don't care what it is. We'll move anything out of the way. We have the capability, and we do it. The problem lies is if it's a private road, technically the RSA says I cannot spend public money on a private road. That's how it reads. There's a thing I like to use is common sense. If there's people on the other side of an emergency and it's a private road, I'm moving it. You people can argue with me all you want afterwards. But if those red trucks or police cars have to get in, I'm getting them in there. So I don't think we're going to need this cut through on Howard Lane. I don't see the need for it, but we'll have a bigger, longer meeting later.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
I don't know, what are you guys thinking in terms of my?
I say we have a joint meeting. I'll second.
Charlie,
opinion.
what are your thoughts?
I'm cutting dry right now, say no.
Okay. So,
When
let
are you
me
going to
put.
schedule this one?
I know, exactly. That's it. Sir, do you want to come up before? How's our calendar for next year
Dave
looking? at this
Davenport from 4 Howard Lane. When we moved here almost 50 years ago, there was a narrow fire access road as we understood it. Right now, taking a walk down there, the place is totally blocked with mountains of debris. And you used to be able to drive a regular car down. I don't know if a fire truck could make it, like he says he probably could push it through. But how much more of the people at the end of the street, how much more land are they going to take? Part of Danny's property, my understanding is already an easement for the cul-de-sac, the turnaround. Now, a 12-foot road, are they going to have to start taking more trees down and widening it and treating it as a public place? And who has access, how fast would it take to get access for an emergency vehicle there? That's my question.
Yep, open question, definitely. All right, so let me put this as a motion. I move to contact the planning board and schedule as soon as possible a joint meeting to get a decision on this.
I'll second it.
All right, so motioned and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
No.
Nay. So 2-1. So we'll get that scheduled. It sounds like.
So you're hosting the meeting as the Board
I
of
think we're going to
Selectmen?
host it. Yeah. I think
And you wanted a public hearing?
Yeah, I'd like to publish it as a public hearing. So if you want to add that to my motion, a joint meeting with public hearing. If everybody who voted yes is still good with that. So it's a matter of looking at the calendars, but, so unfortunately no answer one way or the other tonight, but, hopefully moving towards an answer.
Thank you all very much. Look forward to the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sick.
So is the board going to send all the residents on Howard Lane certified letters telling them that there will be a public hearing and when?
The planning board typically does that with the butters, right?
Yeah, but we're hosting the meeting.
Hosting it.
Yeah.
We should be sending them the letters.
We could. I mean,
wanna
the
do it.
public hearing will be posted, so, that's in the papers and all that stuff, so, yeah.
Can I add one thing?
Sure.
Could you add Bob Donovan, please?
Oh, sure, yeah, that makes sense, so, yeah.
Because he has 2 titles.
He has what?
2 titles.
I'm not sure.
Code enforcement.
And building inspector? Yeah, yeah,
Add them too, please.
yeah, so.
I don't know who you adding, because I couldn't. Okay,
Code
thank you.
enforcement and building inspector, basically, yeah.
And if you need, I don't know if you need to send out a butter notices because it's a joint meeting with the planning board.
Yeah, I
but
don't know.
If you do, just contact us and we can help out with that.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know what the rule is, but we can certainly find out, so, thank you. All right, moving right along. We've made it through the first agenda item, I believe. So we're doing well. So B, Conservation Commission report on tax map 12-1-1 from DES. Who's going to speak to this?
Tricia, I think.
Trish, looks like she's on. Thank you. Yep.
Hi, okay. Let me see if I can get rid of your screen so I can look at my screen. Let's see, give me 1 second here.
Yeah, if folks were just here for letter A, which we just finished, feel free to leave. And then we'll continue on, because I think Trish is just getting everything teed up.
I'm quick. Yeah, I'll be quick.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
So, but what I want to say is, before I start this, just a housekeeping issue, and I'm not sure how many other people that are on Zoom or in, well, not TV land, but in Zoom. I don't know when you started this public meeting, but I did not have any screen, either video or audio, until, so I missed the pledge, I missed whatever you talked about in the beginning, and it ended up having an audio and video. Selectman Bob was talking and something about applications coming in. So I don't know if everyone else, I know Mary Jo was on, Coleman was on, I don't know who the other people were, but the whole beginning part was not available to the public. Just so that you know.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so in my other request from Conservation, I think I spoke to Diane about this today. I had kind of a crazy day. One time last year, in one of your Selectmen meetings, and I think it was actually to do with an intent to cut, Conservation requested that when you put something on the agenda, like map, something or other map, blah, 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 we need the address there, and I requested that in a public meeting last year. There's too many people, you don't know how many calls that I got about this, asking me if this was what address this was, because some people wanted to come, and I'm not sure who's in the audience today. But so far, and I think I sent this to Diane, so you may or may not have this at this time, but the National Heritage Bureau said that there is a blanding turtle in the area of, oh, I should say, we're talking about the town-owned property that's behind 17 Thornell and 2 properties away from the Peanut Trail. It's a landlocked piece of property that is owned by the town. There is a Blandings turtle in the area. However, it's not on that property. It will travel, National Heritage Bureau said the Blandings turtle will travel for a mile. So I wanted to put that out there. So I don't have anything concrete other than the verbal from the National Heritage Bureau. They're going to get me something, but they couldn't do it this quickly. And also, during our conservation meeting last week, we did discuss that landlocked piece of property owned by the town. And although we didn't object, it was before we found out that there was also an Atlantic white cedar swamp in the area. And even if it's not on that town-owned property, any work that might be done by adjacent property is actually going to affect the Atlantic white cedar swamp. It's endangered, it's crucial for our habitat and our environment. So I'm going to read what we know about an Atlantic white cedar swamp per the state. So it's considered a coastal plain Atlantic white cedar swamp. It's threatened by the increased residential and commercial development, land clearing, and alterations due to natural hydrology. Alterations to hydrology could include an increase in demand for fresh water, lowering the water table, an increase in urban-suburban runoff, ditching, draining, and impounding. So if in fact there is an Atlantic white cedar swamp in there, although the owner at 17 Thornell, we can't necessarily stop him from doing anything, but what's going to happen is he will have to get permits, and it will include dredge and fill, which comes to conservation. It's going to go to DES. DES will require National Heritage Bureau to get involved. It'll check for actually not only the swamp, but endangered species. And conservation is requesting that any correspondence applications, whether it's to our local municipality, state, and DES, whatever this applicant is going to be filling out, conservation wants a copy. They want to be kept in the loop. So unfortunately, it's not great information. It's enough to make it cloudy, which don't you love that? But it's all I have right now.
All right, thank you. All right, any comments from the board thus far? No? Ryan, did you want to?
I could say something, I guess. I'd say as a taxpayer in the town, let the guy buy the land and deal with the issues that come up with it. You know, I've built homes in Blanding Turtle areas before. I built a house in West Newbury years ago, spent $8,000 for a biologist, a turtle fence. We never found any Blanding turtles. Anything comes up on the property, we'll do everything that's required by the state and go from there.
So your argument is kind of, any property owner takes their chances with,
right,
once they.
You know, it has nothing to do, it's all planning and
Yep.
in the DES that will deal with that.
Mr. Chairman, can I speak to Ryan?
Sure, go ahead, Trish.
Okay, so yes, so Ryan, you're correct. And conservation did say that. I should have mentioned that as well. You know, although we didn't have a problem with this, with him doing what he wants to do, because he's going to run the gamut, and if there are endangered species or anything there, he will have to do whatever is required. But the last piece that I didn't say is the conservation recommends, as much as possible, we've got to protect open space, And we really would prefer not to sell that 5-acre parcel. I should have included that. It is in the minutes of our meeting that I can send to you tomorrow. But as far as Mr. Norman goes, you know, he's got to follow whatever the policies are and the permit process. And if anything comes up, he'll be the first to know, and then maybe we'll be the second to know.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would say that no matter whether I buy this parcel or not, there won't be any less open space. I'm not going to use the property to increase the yield. So there'll be the same amount of houses. Whether or not my house might be partially on that parcel, it won't be on the other parcel. So that's where I'm coming from.
So I think when we last talked on this subject in one of the last meetings, as a board, we're talking about, we wanted to get conservation's opinion on this, just to make sure we could, you know, sell it if we wanted to sell it, right? Because nobody's decided to sell it yet or anything like that. So I think what we kind of need to do tonight, the board can correct me if I'm wrong, is decide if we want to entertain any offers, not just one offer, but anybody who wants to put an offer. So where's the board's head at right now?
The only ones that can put offers in are abutters.
But supposing somebody wants to buy the land and not develop it?
Yeah, they might want to just buy it.
If you buy the land, you have to give a right of way. If you sell the land, you have to give them a right of way by state statute. Look it up.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't sell a landlocked piece of land. We can
Right,
keep
can't
it
sell
for
landlocked
ourselves.
land.
Right.
Yeah, typically, and somebody just asked how we got the land. Charlie might remember this one, but sometimes we end up with this stuff because, you know, somebody doesn't pay their taxes or whatever, and we deed it and we get it. So, and then we have
Sometimes it's
several of
gifts.
these around town, which we
yeah.
basically can't do anything with. Mike, have we gotten the town helicopter yet? Because if we get the town helicopter, we
He's
could probably
working on
use
it.
this stuff. So, but. Yeah, we have several properties like this. It tends to be the abutters that have the interest in the property because they already have it right away.
And
Nancy?
just to follow up on that, we have a lot of parcels that should be on the tax rolls.
Yeah, and that is the biggest con, right? Or to the town is that we collect these because people don't pay their taxes, and then we're responsible for
Or
them.
they donate them to the
Or they
town
donate
because
them
they
and-
can't use them.
Selling property like this puts it back on the tax roll. We actually get revenue back to the
We
town.
need to do that.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I got no problem with putting it out to bid to the abutters to see what they come up with.
Did you have a comment? If you want to come to the mic, yeah. Ryan, if you want to stay close, just.
Diane Hare, I live on Thornell Road, 29, and I am an abutter now to Mr. Norman. I am one of the abutters. Although I have no objection to Mr. Norman saying that, I am familiar with this plot of land. We do enjoy the peanut trail and the surrounding area, and it is a beautiful piece of property. We own the wetlands, most of that wetlands, a little bit of it is, I believe, on this, but we are concerned. Our biggest concern is we are down from this property, so the way the water is going to flow and to keep the wetlands clean. And we have been, over the years, we've lived in this property for over 30 years, and we've done nothing to our property, and we own many acres. We love the way it is, and we love to leave it the way it is. So, although we know this property will be built on, we really would like the town to consider some of these, some landowners would buy property like this, and I know that you said if it's landlocked, you can't, but it should be open to all of us to preserve some of this land in town. And I understand why he wants to buy it, but I'm also concerned about the way the water flows and protecting the wildlife. Along that wetland, there's beautiful trails that the animals have made. And I just want you to be aware of that. I don't know how much you go out there and investigate the property, but there's a lot out there, and the wetlands are beautiful. And, you know, it's not so pretty on the other side of the trail, but that side, we've managed it and made sure that it stayed very clean, and that's why the Atlantic White Cedars live there.
Where is it from?
29, going down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that as a comment, that I would like to see it stay as town property. I understand you run the finances, but as a person who's lived here for many years, and I have nothing against Mr. Norman, but I understand you need tax dollars, but I'm a taxpayer too.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Trish.
Yes, thank you for that. I agree with what she said. I'm going to be a little adversarial here. I'm going to disagree with Nancy. When we have property that has no houses on it and it is protecting our habitat, we should absolutely not be trying to sell it. Look around our town. Look at the developers, which I have no problem with. I mean, for heaven's sakes, I'm a realtor. You'd think I'd like houses, but I like open space. And the Conservation Commission, their comment was, this is not a good property to sell. It's perfectly protected, that 5 acres. And we've got habitat in there that will be completely, even though Mr. Ryan is saying it's not going to be affected, the only way we know it can't be is if it still remains part of the town. Now, you can't sell it. You can transfer it to the Conservation Commission. I suppose you could charge us, but that would be a little mean. But I highly recommend holding on to anything that is trees in our environment. Every tree holds 400 gallons of water a day, so think about what you're cutting down. Or if we decide to make it part of a parcel, we kind of lose control as to protecting the environment. I just want to put that out there. Conservation spent a lot of time talking about that, and it's very important to look around at our town. Thank you.
Thanks. So I guess at the end of the day, what it comes down to is, does the board want to entertain offers from Mr. Norman and other abutters? Again, just because we're entertaining offers doesn't mean we accept any of the offers. We're just entertaining them, seeing what, you know, the value is and what the interest level is. So is that something the board's interested in doing from here? Or, you know, conversely, not doing anything?
I'm kind of with Trish. I just don't give it to conservation.
Bob, what do you think?
Well, at this point, I'll go along with Charlie and Trish.
Okay. And we'll call this polling the board, because I'm interested in just seeing some offers, you know, just seeing what's out there. Interest level and also the value. But if this is polling the board, then I guess, you know, I have 2 members that outweigh mine, so I think.
Can I say one more thing?
Absolutely, at the mic. Yeah.
So I'd like to reiterate that no matter what, if I buy the property or I don't buy the property, there's going to be the same amount of houses. So the same amount of habitat would be affected. And, you know, I don't know if this matters, but I had to pay $30,000 more than an out-of-town developer who was going to come in here and ram as many houses as possible into the 28-acre parcel. I want to buy this parcel and put the same amount of houses that I would buy as with the 28-acre parcel. So we're not going to be affecting any more habitat. And coming from a taxpayer point of view, I think it's a no-brainer, because the town is going to get money from the sale, and they're going to get tax revenue in perpetuity for this land that nobody uses it. I go out there, I run on the peanut trails every week. I run down there every week, and nobody's ever out on this town-owned parcel. And I've walked out there many times over the past couple of months, and nothing's out there but nice land. I mean, sure, there may be animals, but there's animals on the 28-acre parcel. And it fits in perfectly like a puzzle piece with the parcel that we're buying. And I just think it's a shame that the town would not get the revenue for this worthless piece of land other than for the habitat, but the squirrels and the salamanders don't pay taxes. So that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, but you should be able to complete your project on the 27 acres.
Well, I can, but we border that property, it
then
fits
that-
on 3 sides, it's like a puzzle piece that goes in
And
there.
then nobody could ever bother you on that side because it would be conservation land.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it from, I think, personally, my house in my yard would be great on part of that parcel. Whereas it wouldn't be located on part of this other parcel. I understand where conservation's coming, but if we want to sell it, let's have an auction, and conservation can bid on it with the conservation money for the town.
I think I saw your hand up. Yep.
I'm coming from a different perspective. I guess the money, I realize the town would get money, but there is some value in saving some of these lands and some of the property. So I'm sure that, I'm not in a butter, but I'm sure the gentleman who lives on the other side or whoever lives there would love for it to stay conservation too. It's some, again, I'm not in a butter, so I wouldn't be able to, by your rules, to bid on it, but conservation would, and I think there are people who would help conservation to take care of open space, and not just that space, but other space in town too. There is some value in just keeping open space, and, you know, I just want you to think about that too. There is some value in it.
Thank you. So,
We have
is
Jim
somebody
Doggett.
online? Jim?
Doggett.
Jim, go ahead.
Just an offer of a third option. The town zoning allows for a cluster development, which requires a minimum of 20 acres. He could build his cluster development with three houses. The rest of the land then has to be put into current, mutual ownership of the 3 and must be saved as open space. It actually doesn't matter whether you sell him the lot or not, he still has enough space to do a cluster. However, that would then protect that acreage, allow, I think his name is Mr. Norman, to build what he wants to for his 3 homes. And you actually end up with more land being conserved than the 5 acres that the town has. Because once the cluster development is done, nothing further could be built there. So they go in, they build 3 homes on what would then be 32 acres. 1 acre per house is actually taxed the way it would normally be. The rest of it goes into basically current use, and the town wins as far as conservation land and space. The property owner wins as far as being able to build what he wishes to build.
Sure, go ahead.
So with the cluster ordinance, with the 28 acres, I could potentially get 9 lots for the 28 acres. If we can come to an agreement to take this 5 acres and make it 32 acres, I won't do that. I'll build less houses. So it seems if folks are concerned with conserving land, that would be the thing to do.
Yeah, so I think as we're sitting here right now, based on what the board just kind of stated, we're not going to change anything we're doing currently, it sounds. Has anybody changed their mind as far as entertaining offers? No, Bob's still, and Charlie, you're still there. So unfortunately, that's where it kind of ends,
Okay.
I think, at least for right now.
And is this something that can be revisited?
I mean,
anything can be
anything, right?
Yeah, I mean, during the planning process, this could
Yeah.
be revisited.
Yes.
If there was a better alternative.
Yeah, the other thing too is, and I'll say it is, there might be additional board members in a future meeting. Right now, we're tonight, we're a 3-member board. During the planning process, you might, show up and come back to us, and it might be a 5-member board. So, so you never know.
And I'd like to say at the conservation meeting last week that the board proposed that they didn't object to this sale. So
Yeah.
this is a total blindside.
The board,
The Conservation Commission, at the conservation meeting,
Yeah.
they wrote a letter to the selectmen saying that they do not object to the sale.
And then the next day, we found out about the Atlantic White Cedar Swamp. And a number of times during the meeting, we said we encourage saving any open space that we can, and that because this wasn't a conservation parcel, we didn't object to what you were trying to do until we found out also about the Atlantic White Cedar Swamp. So again, it's the open space, and although I think it's wonderful you say you were running down there and you didn't see any people on that, that's great. So our habitat is being protected, the land is being protected, that's exactly what conservation wants to see. Thank you.
all right, thank you. All right, thank you, everybody, for your input on this subject. We are moving down the list. Item number C is capital improvement plan update. And I think, Diane, that's just to follow up on the last meeting as to how we're doing with inputs, right?
Yeah, so far the historical and the cemetery have turned in their plans,
Yeah.
and the library is working on theirs.
Perfect. So that means we're still waiting on everybody else.
Yes.
Correct? All right. So we need a kind of a pointed email to everybody else saying, we need you to reply by such and such a date. And what is, Bob, are you still on that committee? The capital improvement
I am
plan?
not. We seem to have our hands full here, so I had to
Yeah, exactly.
remove myself from that.
But Diane, are you aware of any hard deadline we should advertise for that?
I think you missed it.
Yeah, we
I think
probably
it was
did.
supposed to be like May 9th or something.
Yeah.
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 Okay, so it's May 17th. We definitely missed May 9th.
We'd like to push by the end of this month would be.
Are you good with that? So we'll send out an email to everybody who hasn't responded yet saying by the end of this month you need a response.
Yep.
Okay, does that sound good, Diane?
Yep. And who was doing the one for the town hall?
It'll end up being me. With input from my friends up here.
Okay.
And others. If you could copy us on those emails, obviously. So.
Yep.
Thank
And
you.
what date to get them in ASAP?
ASAP, but at the latest May, is May 30th a holiday?
Yes.
So the last work day before May 30th, right? So whatever that ends up being.
May 27th.
Sounds good. All right, going down to D, which is quote for feasibility study police station. And this is a proposal, I believe, from the police chief to hire an architect about, there are some, or have been some concerns, that's an old building at 8 Merrimack Road, and potentially getting some input from an architect as to what should and can be done. Did I basically get that right?
Yeah.
You know, my only other thought on this is to me, it doesn't really end with the police station. I think we need a feasibility study on several buildings. Probably not the fire station. Sorry, exactly. But kind of, if we're gonna pull the trigger, we might wanna pull the trigger on a much broader scope.
Well, I feel we instead of going that broad, let's start with one and get started on that one, and then we can, once that one's being at least done, then we can move forward after that one. But let's not throw a whole bunch of them in the thing and then having to be decided which one we want to do. Right now, we have this in front of us. Let's get the study done and let's move forward with this one. That's where I'm at with it. And then we can always move on to another one after this.
Charlie, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, you can look at the building and see what it needs. Why would you want to spend $9,000 having somebody tell you what you need?
How much did you say?
9,000.
18,900.
18,000? I'm sorry, it was higher than I thought.
Okay, I just thought you'd want to know the real
Glad
cost.
you corrected me. Now you want to spend 18,000?
Yeah, I mean, devil's advocate, I think it's beyond, because over the years we've said, let's get the punch list, right? So we need to fix this, this, and this. But then you realize, and I think code enforcement in the past has helped them over there with this, is you can't fix this without fixing this. So, you know, from an overall standpoint, what can we do with, you know, getting all of these, pulling all the lines together, so.
Yeah, if you read through it, it goes into great detail about putting the whole police station together as a jigsaw puzzle, so the whole building becomes as a whole updated into the present time and date, so that every aspect of it is workable the way it should be. Not just that we're gonna go fix the outside and maybe do some cosmetic work to it. This is what they're proposing is getting this whole police station up to date and working in every aspect, like I said. That's why I think we need to just pull the trigger and have at it with this and start with one building, and then we can move forward to another building.
And if I could complicate our lives further, I would also say, you know, given the price tag, a couple other quotes would be in line with our typical policy. So if we put together an RFP, starting with this, we've used this architect before, so we have a relationship, but, you know, could we get another couple of quotes before we pull the trigger? Like I said, further complementing our lives. But
Well, that's fine, but like I said, let's start with the police station and then we can move to a different building.
well, what I mean is,
Right, yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm just saying, let's keep it concentrated there.
yeah. Joe?
Good evening, Joe Simone. Just thinking out loud, where does the master plan stand in this whole thing?
Yeah, and
As to what we should do? What is that particular plan telling us right now?
And I
And
believe,
I know the needs of what's going out, what's out there. We all know the needs.
right, I believe this would feed, or could feed the master plan. You know,
Where's the money coming from?
well, we have a couple of buckets we could pull it out of. Yeah. We like the term buckets, but we have the, I always forget the names of these revolving accounts, but,
Building capital reserve.
yeah. So we have town building capital reserve, which is the rental income? No, that's
That's the engineering and.
the sale of the old
renovation.
fire station and whatever. And then there's the rental income account, so
Okay.
there are funds available.
So you said we want to start with this building first. What's the next building they're thinking of doing after that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there needs to be a town strategy.
We don't have a strategy right now.
Well, that's
That's
what
what I'm
you
saying.
CIP.
Haven't had a strategy for.
Joe, by the time we get going on this, that's when hopefully the CIP will be put into perspective. And then hopefully with that, we can take a look at that and see what the department heads have come up. And then we can pick whichever one seems to be in most need.
No. The unfortunate thing is, gentlemen, everything's falling down around us, unfortunately.
We gotta start somewhere, Joe.
And the problem is too, you need to fund these accounts, which becomes warrant articles. And people either have to vote for it or they don't.
Yep.
So that's the problem we've had in the past. You can't get the voters, or they give you so much, but it's not enough. So it's gonna take a while, so.
Well, we'll plug along at it, one step at a time.
But this is only the feasibility of what the building needs. So we're paying that amount to see what else we need to raise funds for, correct?
which the ADA, that's gonna be over a couple $100,000, bare minimum.
Right. But I mean,
And then you're
like
never
Bob
gonna get the
said,
money.
we've got to start somewhere. We
Well,
can't
that's
keep
why-
kicking the can down the road.
Nancy, that's why last year I had the extra $100,000
But
put in there.
that's not going to cut it, Charlie.
It does the outside of the building and closes them windows.
But we're talking, it might be structurally that they need to fix, not the side cosmetic. You need to look at the foundation of that building.
So let's think of it this way. The capital improvement plan is due to be published when approximately? This
It's
plan,
supposed to be hopefully by this fall.
this fall. Because I kind of see the investment coming after that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, in other words, here's our strategy, which we don't have.
Correct.
Hopefully, the capital improvement plan is at least a start at the strategy. Here's our strategy. Here's where we're going to invest the money.
Right.
You know, are there? And we've talked about it. I think it's coming up here in a minute. The Marshall House. Do we kind of cut bait on something like that? Like we're not going to invest in that. However, over here we are going to invest. So I'm wondering if and I'm not a builder, but is the time not now? Is the time in the fall to invest in something like this?
I think the sooner you start, the better.
I'd say we set the ball, like, do what you said. We can get a couple more bids on the thing, and then by that time, you know what I'm saying? We can't just keep putting stuff off.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Exactly, so let's do it.
So is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Could you, Diane's...
Clarify that?
Diane's got a blank sheet of paper there. She needs...
I make a motion that we get a couple more bids, like the one that was presented to us about working on the police station.
So you want to put out an RFP?
Yes, please.
Anybody want to second that? I'll second it. So, any further discussion? We don't have to put dates to that, right? Because, I mean, you'll do it as quickly as possible, but you have to leave an amount of time for them to respond and stuff, right?
Yep.
Yep. So, all right, further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
I'm going to say aye.
Oh, cool. 3 ayes.
Hey.
So we will.
Hey, it's
talk
only
more
sending
about
out.
this one. Are you standing up? Okay. All right. I didn't know if you were stretching.
I'm going home.
No, soon. There's nothing you can do about it now. I'm just going to bring up a point of, you're going to put it out for an RFP for a bid. You just disqualified the guy that did all the work. You gave the number out.
Yep.
You should have kept the number quiet.
Yeah. At times we do that, unfortunately. Yeah. Yeah. So. All right, but anybody want to change their vote or change the motion? No? We're still good with how we voted? So we're moving along.
Well, what happens if we pull that RSP out?
Well, let me put it to you this way. Getting RFPs is kind of a valuation, and in the end, we make the decision. There's no rule that says we have to go with the lowest bidder.
Right.
So,
That's true.
you know, there are things I've sat in this room before, and we said, hey, we know this particular vendor, we've done work with them before, so this is just a value. It's due diligence, I think.
All right.
Is what it is. So,
Then we'll leave it.
cool.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Trish.
So I'm just curious on this RFP, how much is this actually going to cover? Somebody mentioned ADA. Oh, I know about the siding. I know about the outside. Are we also talking about the safety issues? We've got garage doors that need sensors. We need vents in the bays. There's an awful lot of stuff. So I want to make sure, however this RFP is worded, we're covering all. We've got some pretty horrific things there other than the siding and the windows.
Yeah, I would say the whole
Yeah, the
Okay.
whole,
shebang.
yep, the whole building.
Uh-oh. Fire chief's coming up.
Uh-oh, sorry.
I know, you started it.
I'm gonna be, even, forgive me, a little tired, gonna even throw a little more monkey into the wrench. What Trish just mentioned, that's an engineer. It's not an architect.
We've been down this road before, yeah.
Bingo. You know where I'm getting at?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So it depends on, now that you're starting to open that box,
Yep.
as Trish just put it, you might want to start engaging in an engineer to look at all the life safety stuff
right.
on it.
Good, yeah.
I think that's what Trish is trying to.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
We'll just attempt to get the most detailed RFP with all the questions that we need answered. I'm sure Diane can put something together from what we have and send it around for us to mark up, right?
Oh, I can do that, sure, but let's hope we get some markups.
Exactly, yeah. So we all need to raise our right hand and swear to mark up what she sends us. All right, so moving right along, road agent rental equipment agreement.
Mike Pavero, road agent. When I became the road agent in 2008, the board that was here at the time, I brought in a rental agreement with them. Hopefully, you've got copies of what that was.
No.
You weren't given copies of that?
No, all we found was the
agreement.
blank one, yeah.
Yeah.
The
Well, somebody signed it. I know you couldn't find the signed one, but
Right.
they had signed it. So you haven't seen this, Charlie?
No, I haven't, Mike.
Okay. You have it?
Yeah.
Oh.
They have their computers.
It's in the-
Charlie needs paper.
It's in the folder.
Oh, okay. So you guys do see it. I mean, you can look at that at a later date. Why I'm here on the podium is, in 2008, I had rental rates. We had that agreement between myself and the town. I haven't upped the rate 1 penny since 2008. I'm to the point now, I can't rent the town the equipment for what I've been renting it for 15 years. My operating costs have gone way up. The biggest one that's hitting hard, just not me, but everybody, everywhere, is fuel costs. In the past 2 years, more importantly, the past 6 months, the fuel costs have doubled. So we've got a couple options, and that's why I'm here tonight. I can adjust my rental rates. I'll hit the town with a fuel surcharge right now for what the difference is for what it was prior to the fuel increase to what the fuel increase is now. And sadly, I think the fuel increase is going to continue to rise. Or the town pay the difference of what my fuel operating cost was prior to this increase. And we can do that for a while to see what the economy or the increase of all this may continue to in the next year. So we've got options. I'm just letting you know I can't rent the town for what I have on a decreased rental rate, like I said, for the past 15 years, and I haven't raised it a dime.
Well, which would be easier for you, Mike?
I don't think it's I don't think any of them are easy or harder. I'm just looking to cover the cost of what I'm expending now, because I have equipment that I'm renting to the town now. I'm losing money when I rent it.
Oh, yeah. Diesel fuel's at $6.40, $6.45 a gallon.
Yeah.
Which is
so,
crazy.
I mean, I can do it. If you guys have a preference, I'll do it that way. I'll just plant the seed now, and we can revisit it in the next selectmen's meeting. I don't need an answer tonight. I'm just bringing to you guys that what I've been renting the town for equipment, I can't continue to do. And I'm not holding you hostage. You guys got other options. But, I mean, my rates are cheaper than anywhere else you're gonna get it. I just have to bring them back up to cover my operating cost.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same old story we're hearing everywhere. You know,
It is everywhere.
Stuff is more expensive.
The farmers, they're taking a beating themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, as far as I'm concerned, if you just want to give us what the difference is from
Fuel surcharge?
Yeah.
I'm okay with doing that
Yeah.
for right now. Yeah,
If you want to do that, let's do that.
okay.
I'll make a motion to pay Mr. Bavero a fuel surcharge to make up The difference for the fuel because of the rise in cost.
So what would be the fuel surge charge?
Or the measurement.
The fuel surcharge will be in accordance with the rate of diesel at the pumps, because it keeps changing. You can't just put, at this point, you can't put a fixed amount on it.
So every time it goes up, Mike?
Goes up, Mike will adjust it and he'll let us know.
Okay.
Well, the baseline on that is gonna go back to, and I'll look at my notes in the office. I think 2 years ago, and don't hold me to this, I think 2 years ago, I was paying less than $3 a gallon for diesel fuel.
Yep.
So it's doubled then some.
Right.
From then to now. So that will become the baseline. The baseline won't become the $6.49 now.
Right. No.
Gonna go back to that, and that'll be the surcharge.
Right. So if you want to give Diane what your baseline is, and then we can,
Kind of like we do with the hired plow guys. We use the pump at
Over
108
here,
at
yeah.
409.
Can we, and you just said earlier, we don't have to decide tonight.
We don't tonight, no.
Can you come back with the actual numbers so we can see? Because that's what I was thinking of too, is the hired plow baseline.
Yeah, and I'll come back with what my rental rates are per hour.
Yeah.
I'll figure out a percentage increase that'll cover my fuel costs, and if you want to just increase the rental rates by that percentage, and then, again, we got multiple options on how to deal with it.
well, I mean, if you want to do it, that's why I asked if you'd rather do it that way, if it would be.
Either way, anyways,
Yep.
I'll give you a couple options.
All right.
Cool, thank you.
So you pull in your motion, right?
Yep, I pull my motion.
All right, moving right along. F, status of new fire truck, chief?
Can't you guys sit closer to the mic?
There's really like, it's very dramatic walks that they
Yeah.
have sometimes, you know.
It's like going
Exactly.
to the guillotine.
Yeah.
Good evening. Just to touch on the new fire truck. The truck, like any new vehicles, after the break-in period, has to go back to the dealer to have its service done. There was, I believe, 18 things that the dealer had to do to it. During that time, some of the stuff was taking 2 to 3 weeks to get parts in due to the cost of fuel, wear and tear on the truck, and the cost of man hours, about 5 hours round trip to go up to, I think it's Biddeford, Maine, to pick up the truck, to bring it back, to put the truck in service, to possibly take it out of service a week later. It was ludicrous. So we told them to leave the truck up there, keep working on it. When the parts came in, get it done. Life was good until about April 13th. On April 13th, we received a safety recall, which I submitted to the Board of Selectmen. The safety recall automatically put a hold on everything with the truck. Basically what it is, it's for the axle pinion shaft. The axle pinion shaft, you had no idea, you're driving down the road, would snap off, take off the air canisters, and all of a sudden the brakes would lock up on the truck. It has nothing to do with this particular manufacturer of the fire apparatus. It has to deal with the manufacturer of that rear axle. So if it's on a dump truck that has that rear axle, they had the recall. Unfortunately for us, we fell into that recall. So the dealer worked with the manufacturer to get parts. I sent you the email before I went on vacation. The parts were due either yesterday or today. I sent you, I believe, an email today. The parts are in. They're working on the truck. If everything goes good, the truck should be delivered back to Newton on Thursday. Okay? The only thing I would ask out of the Board of Selectmen would be a little bit of respect that if the board has any questions, comments, or concerns about my department, I'm the head of the department, that please reach out to me. Do not reach out to Town Hall so it goes through a third party. Okay, so if anybody on the board, future board members, doesn't make a difference, I have an open book. Charlie knows that. I have an open book, open door. You can come and talk to me. You can talk to my liaison. I have nothing to hide. Okay, that's why I'm standing here today, because I kind of went around town hall back to me. It was a simple question that could have been addressed to me, and I wouldn't have to be standing here tonight.
Chief, before you go, how are we on our warranty? Are we losing time? Or is
Oh,
this?
yeah, no, you have 2 years from the date that truck was delivered. You lost time when the truck sat here waiting to get put in service. From the day the truck was delivered, I don't know the date off the top of my head, your 2-year warranty started then. You actually had 1 year, but the manufacturer of the fire truck gave an extra year warranty to the town because you bought the truck from them. Okay, that was at no cost to the town. They didn't charge the extra for the extra year. But you still have whatever's remaining from the warranty from when the truck was delivered, I believe in September,
Sounds right.
around there. Okay? And then when the truck comes back, if it comes on Thursday, we'll have the crew put all the hoses, water, all the equipment back on it. And then it'll be put back in service. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. G is update on electronic devices and inventory. I think the update is this is in process, right?
Yes. Wasn't there something you were going to try and clarify on that? I forget. I've received from several of the department heads what they have for devices, computers, whatever.
Yeah, did you get all the department heads to respond yet?
I don't think I've got everybody, but
I would say just give them a deadline.
was there something to do with the email addresses that you were going to bring up in the announcement?
I don't know what you mean.
Well, Joe had brought it up at a
Just
previous
forgetting, maybe.
meeting that maybe the policies and all that go out to everybody again to make sure everybody's following the policies we have.
Oh, I agree with that. I look at this as like triage right now, is that we need a triage of what is actually out there. And then our current policy is good, but we need more.
Right.
But right now we need, because what my understanding it is everybody might be doing something a little different. In other words, some people might be walking around with a phone that we're reimbursing for their bill, and other people are walking around with phones that the department head is actually buying all of them and passing them out. We need, as a board, we need to figure out what is it we have, who do we have it from, right? Some might be Verizon, some might be AT&T, and do we want to do one or the other, blah, blah, blah. Joe?
Brings up a good question. So being as the trustee of the trust funds, do I get reimbursement for the use of my phone on town business?
Yeah, I mean,
Or should I get reimbursement?
yeah, that's a question.
What would be the policy?
That's exactly right.
Okay, you mentioned something before okay, get my head screwed on right. You mentioned something about a policy. What is a policy? Do we have the policy, a new policy? We need to update it. I think you were looking at it last time. I think you asked Nancy to look to see what the policy was. If we had one or we didn't have one.
I did, but the one, they asked me to check with Primex, and the one that Primex gave me is the one we already have in place.
Okay, so is the one with Primex, should we be using them, or should we look to an outside agency to say, this is what we currently have, this is what each department has, we think they're doing this, but they might be doing this. Do we need to dig into this a little further so we can get a comprehensive plan that covers everybody? Because right now it looks as though everybody's off in 15 different directions, and I think that's causing a lot of issues.
When you say everybody's off in 15 directions.
Some people are getting reimbursed, some people aren't.
Oh, yeah,
some
yeah,
people-
yeah.
That's basically what I'm saying. I think we need to have a comprehensive policy that,
I agree, but I think that's step 2. I think step 1 is what are we actually doing? Because I asked around informally, and everybody's got a
we're
different.
doing a hodgepodge of things right now.
Exactly.
So I mean,
So in other words, we have to identify so-and-so is doing this, so-and-so is doing this,
Yeah,
and then the
exactly.
board needs to say,
so who is,
say, of those, whatever,
So-
5 people, we're picking this is what we're gonna do.
okay, so do we have one carrier currently? Do we have Verizon or
And
AT&T?
that's another question. I don't know.
That's the other part of it, Joe.
The 2 big departments have said they use Verizon.
Okay, I don't have a problem with that, but So who was going to shepherd this project of the selectmen? Because to throw this on to the administrative people, I think is really a little too much at this point in time with everything that's going on. So someone has to shepherd this project.
Yeah, I would agree.
So
I would
think-
agree, somebody has to shepherd it, but right now, we're just trying to get our hands around
Yeah.
it.
I realize that,
Yeah,
but it's a lot
yeah.
of work.
Oh, it is.
I mean, when you have departments that won't even reply to you, you mentioned it a couple times
Yeah,
tonight.
oh, yeah,
Give them a
yeah.
deadline. I mean, that's
Yeah.
absurd.
Oh, yeah.
In today's day and age, what are we? How many square miles are we in a town?
9.9.
9.9 square miles. I mean, come on.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I mean, if these people can't be held accountable, call them up and call them in front of non-public session and say, what's the issue?
Mm-hmm.
Do you not have enough time? If you don't, resign. We'll get someone in here who will. It's sad that it comes to that, but it's the reality of the situation. I mean, these girls can only beg so many times before people say, you know, they're not going to pay attention to it.
Right.
So, I mean, if you've reached that point, Nancy, where people are not paying attention to you,
No,
let us know.
I haven't reached that point yet, but I will send out the second email. But I think one of the other things we were going to talk about is people shouldn't be using their personal cell phones. So the town's either going to provide them with the cell phone that we put on our plan, whoever, Verizon, whatever, but we should not be using personal phones.
That's something we have to talk about.
Right.
Reimbursement right there for someone using one?
I think there's been a stipend, it's been, you know, maybe, don't hold me to this.
No, not at all. I'm
gonna
just
say
curious.
like maybe 200 for a quarter,
Oh, my
something like that.
Money. Is it retroactive?
No. Don't push it, Joe. No, but these are things we need to figure out because there's only certain departments right now that are getting that. This is what I think Matt's trying to pull together.
These issues you don't know.
Want to form a committee? Maybe you can help gather all this stuff.
You know, on this ARPA committee that I'm on, we sent a request out.
Just keep going.
Yeah.
Yep.
On the ARPA committee that I'm on, we sent a request out 3 times. And I can count on one hand the number of people who responded. And when you talk to some of the department, oh, I don't need anything. Well, okay, well, just drop a little note, say, we're all set.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel the frustration, and it's crazy. 9 square miles, it shouldn't happen.
Right.
Yep, I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I think it sounds like if the board's amendable
about
is,
if
you're
I-
going to give a deadline and then you'll come
Yeah, I'll
back.
give you an update at the next
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's really many left that would have, but I can certainly reach out to the ones I haven't heard from.
Yep, sounds good. Okay.
If helps any, I'll volunteer to help Nancy do whatever she needs to do.
Oh, good.
Private citizen.
But Nancy, do you really need
Not
help
at this
point?
Not at this point,
Yeah,
no.
I think, Jill, what you're talking about is, this is the first step. You're talking about something very complicated further on, but I think right now Nancy just needs that information. Hopefully people aren't ignoring her and they're just really busy right now.
We need to back her up on that.
We certainly do.
Not just by saying send another email and give you a deadline. Maybe it needs to come from you folks.
I don't,
Out there in the,
Yeah.
that'll help.
Yeah. I mean, typically, what I've seen in my professional life is if they don't respond to the second one, as long as the bosses are on copy, typically the bosses bounce it back for the third time and say, hey, you know, not Joe, you, but Joe, respond to Nancy because, you know, we're waiting. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm sending it out to the department heads, and the department heads need to do their job. And that's,
the department heads work for them.
right.
Yeah.
And on the,
Public session and say, what's going on?
and on this case, I think I've got the majority of the people. Do you have a computer, Joe? I haven't heard from you. Well, it's out there.
So
Trustees of trust
do
funds.
us a favor, just send it again with us on copy. You know,
I think
we'll send it again
Okay.
with a deadline of Friday.
Yep.
And, you know, so,
I don't check that email after that.
Why do you say Friday when we're here Friday?
well, most of the world it's Friday, so we'll call it Thursday.
Okay.
All right, so that was G. H, review Show New England Baseball Academy at Greeny Park. I think Diane sent out an update. They haven't used Greeny Park yet, right?
Correct.
This
Yep.
year. So,
What's the issue there?
with what?
Why haven't they used it?
I don't know.
Because the fields, they just haven't used it because I guess the fields aren't up to their standard.
So they couldn't find anybody to do the landscaping they need.
Well, I think they could find people, but they didn't like the price tag. When I say they, the new Sanborn Baseball. So.
Well, just get up and open them up.
Okay. Just a time check, it's 9:15, so if we can move through some of these pretty
We're having
quick.
fun. I was down at Greeny Park today, and the field looks in great shape. Yes, the infield looks a little ratty. It probably does need some work on it. We probably should get it done, but at this point in time, the season's probably over. So maybe we should wait till next year, but if we wait till next year, the weeds are just gonna multiply a little more, so something should probably be done. Maybe a weed killer or something like that, a inexpensive application, probably something should be looked at there. Don't know, but I mean, that might be something we can do.
Yep.
But the field does look, the physical plant looks in good shape.
Yeah, it is in pretty good shape.
Yeah, so.
All right, H, I'm sorry, we just did H, so we're on to I. Intent to cut tax map 4-7-1 on hold.
Is Tricia still on?
Yes.
Trish? Tricia's been meeting with Kingston Conservation, I believe.
Yes, sorry about that.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't find my, my mute thing. So yes, that intent to cut, there is 40, and I don't have it right in front of me. There's a 40.2 acre parcel in the Newton side, and maybe 45 acre parcel on the Kingston side. Kingston, the town of Kingston Conservation actually holds an easement on the property, the entire property, so they maintain it for Newton as well. There has been evidently multiple times when this person has gone to Kingston Conservation and has tried to do intent to cuts and said he was going to do things certain ways, and then I guess really butchered the property, didn't follow the guidelines. I talked to the highway person in Kingston as well, and he also said that you know, it could be that he's trying to bypass Kingston and come to Newton. So there, right now, because of the conservation easement, actually we can stop cutting on an easement. The easement language, and again, I wish I had it in front of me, the language actually says absolutely no cutting. It must remain in its current state. It can have a forestry plan, which I don't think he has submitted yet, management forestry plan. But again, I'll call Evie at the Kingston Conservation and get a little bit more information, and I can send it to all of you.
And Tricia, you spoke to the people, that woman Charlotte from the state conservation?
Yes, yes. And she reiterated the same thing. No cutting can be done on a conservation easement that's recorded that way. Because, you know, we always were told, oh, you can't stop an intent to cut. And what was said is, yes, if there's an easement that says you can't cut, you can stop it. So I think that's what you wanted to know about, Nancy. But again, Nancy and I were kind of going back and forth while I was trying to make these phone calls. But basically, we've got to be really careful what we say as selectmen with this intent to cut.
Plus, I was told that the logger was going through Kingston with all the wood. And I mean, we've got 40 acres, 40 plus 2. They're cutting on 40 plus 2. So it's not just, you know, growth and whatever. It sounds like clear cutting.
Yeah.
But Mike said they can't go through Newton, and that's the only way they can go, you know.
That's right.
Without a road bond or whatever. So there's a lot of fingers in the pie right now. I just don't know if anybody's called the logger, because I told them I would put it in front of the board on tonight's meeting. I haven't heard a peep. I don't know if anybody's contacted the logger to let him know, so he doesn't just show up and start cutting.
Should we be allowing them, because on the application it says 40.2 and average to cut is 40.2.
That's what I just said.
So they're going to clear cut it, and there should be a buffer zone left, at least a 25-foot to a 50-foot buffer zone all the way around that property.
Well, like Trish said, it abuts the other Kingston land, and the restrictions, conservation restrictions or whatever they call it, is with Kingston. So Kingston needs to be contacting this person. I shouldn't be contacting them just because I received the application.
Do you want me to forward the application to them for you, Nancy, and let them do it?
You could. I sent
Or should
it
it come from you?
I sent it to the state lady. I just don't know. I'm not getting guidance from anybody, and I'm not going to speculate and do something that I shouldn't be doing.
Right. Why don't I, if you want, because I've got a copy of that, and Conservation did talk about it, why don't I send it to Kingston, and also the Kingston road agent who actually called me along with Mike. I kind of had them, all in the office at the same time. But send that to Kingston and ask them, per the request, maybe if you guys vote this way, per the request of the Newton Board of Selectmen, we would like you, since it's in Kingston, for you to contact this logger and make sure that nothing's happening.
Right. Right. I did ask Charlotte from the state, but I never got a response.
Okay.
So, and Mike Pavero did have a copy of the intent, so.
Yes, I have a copy.
Yep. So whatever you can do, Trish, I'd appreciate it.
All right. I'll work on that, and I'll get back to you, Nancy.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so you want to table this until we have a response?
Yeah.
Well, I apologize. I thought Kingston was already dealing with this.
Well, that's what I was told, but I'm not getting guidance from anybody.
No, nobody's giving you any feedback to what's going on, right?
No.
All right.
And I've talked to several people, but I'm not getting any answers.
Yeah.
So that's why I called Charlotte back or emailed her and asked her, should we put a hold on the board signing this intent tonight? And she said yes. But, so I asked, well, is somebody reaching out to the logger? And I got no response again, so I don't know. It's not up to me.
Yeah.
But Tricia seems like she's got a handle on it. She can find out for us.
Let's see how
Thank you,
that
Trish.
works. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll get back to you, Nancy, and you can let everyone else know.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So Jay, is update on Marshall property?
So I sent you the
quote
yeah,
estimate?
not the quote, but the insurance, what it would cost to fix, what you're insured for, basically, for that property. So, depends, again, it's gonna depend on what you want to fix it or not. So
Well, shouldn't they be sending us the check anyway, if they approve the claim?
I have no idea. I thought you had to do, I don't know how that works.
Yeah, normally, if they give an adjusted figure, you get the dollar amount, but I don't know if it's pending on if we're gonna fix it or not. Normally, it's not.
If we don't fix it, are they going to give us 80%? I mean, excuse me, if we're going to fix it, they usually give you 80% up
Well,
front.
they gave us a dollar amount, I think,
And then once it's completed, they give you the balance.
I don't know. I haven't heard anything other than what he said that they figured it out to be. But I think before we pursue that, I think one way or the other, we should get the money. We have insurance on it.
Yep.
and
Oh, yeah.
They should be paying us, but so maybe I need to reach out to them and ask them what the holdup is.
Yeah.
And then the
Because it-
board can decide
we
what we
haven't
want to do with
accepted
it.
It says the net claim if depreciation is recovered also, which boosted it up, and I don't understand that. So if the work gets done, they're gonna add that additional $2,750 to it.
Okay.
And if we don't do the work, then that doesn't get claimed, and then we end up with the $6,759 and change.
So I figured I would have had it by now, but I haven't seen anything, so I need to speak with them. But I think the board needs to know, do you want to put money into this? Are we going to consider maybe selling it, or?
Yeah, I mean, from where I sit, I really don't want to put any money into it.
Right.
I do think the next step is to get a valuation done.
Mhm.
I don't know what everybody else is
You mean
thinking.
like a real estate
Yeah,
appraisal?
yeah. That's what I should have said, real estate appraiser to look at it. I don't know. What are you guys thinking? And again, it's not, we don't have to do any, it's just, we get it appraised now, that's information to make our next decision, you know?
Just out of curiosity, what are you going to do with the stuff that's in there?
I think last time, the Historical Society, aren't you the president, Tanya?
Yep.
Nice. I think there were, there was talk of there are certain departments that want some of the stuff and the rest of the stuff we have to figure out, so.
Yeah, a
Like
lot
the
of,
two carriages we were gonna put over at the old firehouse.
yes, we were gonna look at that, and basically, we haven't done anything because we were just waiting on this report to see where the town was gonna go with the building. If you sell the building, most of that stuff will probably, we'll keep some of it, but most of it will probably just be thrown out, or,
We missed the Newton Yard Sale day
yep,
for at least the summer. There's one in the fall, but.
okay,
so-
good,
You
we'll
got some
keep that in
antiques in
mind.
there.
I know. We want to make sure we do the right thing with it, but. So is that what we want to do next, is to engage a real estate appraiser just to get info?
Do we need more than one? Do we have to go out the bid type thing or what?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Call 3.
Call 3?
Yeah.
So,
They'll all be willing to come up and give you an appraisal.
but I mean, how
Excuse
much
me.
do you pay somebody for an appraisal typically?
No, you tell them you're interested in selling the property.
And then they,
They'll come by because
Yeah.
they'll want the sale,
Yeah.
right? They'll come by, they'll look at it and say, well, this property's worth $125,000.
Yeah.
Somebody else might say 150. You never know.
but then they'll
Or you
say,
could
call
call those
me if
guys
you're
on the
interested.
commercial
Yeah.
that come in, they'll buy any building and property as is. I'm kidding, Joe, I'm kidding,
What is it?
I'm kidding.
We-
It was a joke,
We buy,
yeah.
so,
You're gonna sell a piece of land.
yeah, so it sounds like getting 3 is just a matter of 3 phone calls, and it's not like
The
we
three
have to,
different
we have to
realtors.
pay somebody to do it.
Are we locking ourselves in to sell it so that they get their fee? Or do we have to pay a fee to have them come give us a quote?
Well, if you was gonna sell your house tomorrow, Nancy, you might wanna call 3 different real estate agencies.
Right, but I'd be seriously selling my house at that point. We don't know if we're gonna sell it yet. It depends on what it might be worth,
I think
right?
people do that all the
So,
time, though.
Before you
They
even
do it
go
all-
down that
it-
route, Trish, can you come on for a second? Maybe?
Yes,
So on that property on Wallace Street,
yes,
where the Marshall House is, isn't some of that conservation land?
yes. In the back of that, yes, some of that is conservation.
So if I'm looking at the assessing card, basically, that house is included in that conservation land. So,
I believe so, yeah, without looking at the map, but yes.
so something to think about.
I say fix it.
Yeah.
If this property sells, Tricia, does it still stay conservation land?
I'd have to look at that map again. The conservation piece, from what I remember, goes to the left of the building and up into there's wetlands there, but it goes up kind of in the woods.
By the gas
I
line.
thought the house itself was not conservation. I thought conservation was to the left, but I'd have to look at the map.
Yeah.
So what I think it's all included. That's what I'm afraid of.
Really? Okay.
That's what it's, yeah, because when I look at the assessment card, the building is there, the house,
Yeah.
and then
Really,
it's
I'm
got,
gonna look at it.
right, it says 5.97 acres.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'm looking at it. Let's see.
That'd be 2 houses.
Yeah, it could be.
Maybe more money.
Yeah, it's wet out there.
So that's something to consider. You
Yeah.
may not,
Joe, did you have?
Question I have, does this fall under the auspices of the Historical Society?
No.
how quick was that?
Yeah, the last meeting we talked about that they said we still own it as the town.
Okay, why can't the town deed it over to the Conservation Commission then?
They probably could. for $1.
I don't know, I mean, really.
So I think we should just call, and I'm sure Charlie, and I know a Realtor, we can get a few phone numbers just to get some data for our next.
Get an idea, yeah.
Our next decision making, so.
So this is what's going to be asked. Are you selling just the house and the property where the house sits on, that small little piece of land? Because I'm telling you, this parcel is 5.97 acres, okay, which includes the house, which is on, which is butts conservation land. So in order to sell it, my thought process would be you're going to have to do a
Subdivision.
A what?
A subdivision.
A subdivision. Thank you. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, and
No decision has to be made tonight on this.
Yeah, right.
So think about it, and then I'll put it back on the agenda for the 7th, and you can say, okay, yeah, it's going to cost us more money to just subdivide it, to sell that little piece of property, than it is to, to try and get
Sell it
money for it.
outright.
Yep.
Yeah.
That should be part of the conversation, I think, with the Realtor.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay.
All
Yep.
right. So K is update town administrator job description. There are actually two things here. So I think most people know last week we met with MRI. MRI has sent us a draft town administrator job description and a draft posting for the town administrator position. And what I'd like to get the board's thoughts on are to, accept those two items. Unless anybody's got any changes, we can make changes, obviously. But I'd like to accept those so we can move forward with the process and
Yeah, I read
start
them both.
posting.
I'm fine with the way both of them are.
Any thoughts on that,
Charlie?
Charlie?
To be honest with you, I'm fine with the way it is.
So you want to make a motion?
Well, it's worth asking Nancy, since she's the current town administrator, did you have a chance to read those at all?
I haven't seen any of it.
No, it's on our shared drive, but if you have any concerns, you'll let us know on
Look at
that. As we talked about in the last meeting, the job descriptions have obviously evolved, so this was an example of MRI's recommendations based on recent placements and stuff like that, so. But yeah,
We need to get to move this forward.
yes, exactly.
Second? Did you just motion it?
Was that a motion to move
Yeah.
it forward? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll second it.
Seconded by Bob. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So I'll take the action tomorrow to let Alan from MRI know that we approve the posting as written, and he'll go about that. What's more than likely going to happen is he's probably going to reach out to Diane about places that you commonly post those job openings. One would be our website, but we'll go from there.
So that's just, so did you make a motion to approve the job description?
I think
Yeah.
you,
Okay, all right.
and the posting?
And the posting.
Okay.
Oh, and the
Yeah,
advertisement?
both of them, yes.
Okay,
You did one of those so moved.
okay.
Yeah. All right. I think we're on to other business. Anybody have anything for other business?
I came in and I talked with Diane about, Michael had, Mr. Bavaro, about getting a bond writer, about trying to get some money to fix our roads.
Grant writer.
Grant writer?
A grant writer, I'm sorry. We're looking into that. Diane's trying to get hold of a couple of names so that we can see if we can't look at them and maybe hire a grant writer to try to get us some money so we can get some road work done in this town
Oh, nice.
and save a few shekels.
Nice. Any other business, Charlie?
Yeah, I do. And it's kind of back where, to the road agent and his increasing his fees and stuff like this. From my understanding, he was given the Butler building and the 2 stalls to use as his base to build the fire station. Well, that's completed now, and shouldn't he be moving out of there or paying us rent? I mean, Dennis Quintel pays rent.
Right.
And
Yeah.
of course, he's also, I mean, he's looking for more money for fuel, but he's got a junkyard down at our transfer station. All that iron down there. So, you know, these are things that we should consider. And another thing too, looking at the manifest, an individual that works for him, I won't mention a name, and he spent two days, 16 hours, working on the road agent's trucks so that they go out plowing.
Shouldn't this be discussed with Mike?
Yeah, I mean, where...
Well, I'm just bringing it up.
You
none
can
of it.
pose these questions, Charlie, obviously, but nobody's giving you an answer tonight. We have to wait till the road agent...
I'm not even looking for an answer. I'm just mentioning it.
Okay.
I feel that, you know, he's got a need to go up on his price. I mean, we should be getting something too.
Well, we are continuing that discussion in the next meeting, right? So when Mike's here, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, as far as the Butler building, where his office is and stuff, he's road agent. He's an elected official. Why would we charge him rent to use that?
Because he's got 2 bays that he works on his vehicles there. He shouldn't have that.
Well,
He should have an office there. I have no problem with having an office there, but it shouldn't say his business name on top and his business name on the mailbox.
okay, because I know normally the board decides what the bays are used for. So if that wasn't discussed.
Well, I mean, if the board's willing to let him use the bays for free, the board's willing to let him use the bays for
Right.
free. But I think we should give the same thing to Dennis Quintel because he's done an awful lot for this town.
Dennis
You
doesn't
know it.
need a bay. He doesn't need a bay.
No,
He has
he's
an
just-
office.
He's just using that as an analogy.
Well, I'm just saying.
I'm using that as a scenario.
So that's something the board needs to decide.
Yeah, well,
Well, like we said, we have this topic of expenses coming up again, right? So, Joe, you were making your way to the...
I just want to just say I apologize because being a town official, I did not check that email, so I did get the email, so I did get it, I did
Of course
respond.
you did.
I did, like I said, I don't check that all that often, so I just want to go on record to say apologize on that. But the next thing is, could I get a copy of that posting, whatever it is, from the MRI or whatever it is?
Yeah, I mean, I would assume at some point tomorrow it'll be on the website anyway, but...
Okay, very good. I just want to look at it.
Yeah, I don't think it's any state secrets or anything. I did want to mention, we have been notified that in talking, I think in our last meeting, we signed a letter as the board to go to a employee who's on administrative leave to submit their phone to us, the town paid device, and we are now in receipt of that device.
Yep.
So my question for the board is, do we want to wait because we've submitted to the county attorney, as we talked about in the last meeting. County attorney's in receipt of our file. I don't think we've heard anything yet from the county attorney, right, Nancy?
I haven't, no.
But it was submitted. Do we want to wait for them to ask for it as part of that? Or do we want to solicit our own contractor, IT contractor to plug in? And
I thought we were going to have a forensic test done on it.
is that what you want to do? Our own forensic test, or do we want to wait for the county attorney to?
I don't think the county attorney is going to spend the money for it.
Probably not, yeah.
And what they're going to probably do once we send it up there, they're going to ship it back.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you...
So do you want to make a motion to do a forensic test on it? Is that what you're saying?
I will make the motion that we do a forensic test on it.
Okay. Do you want second? Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So my suggestion would be, Nancy, to get phone numbers from the police chief. Seems to know where you would send something like that, so. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know his availability for a couple of days, though.
Oh, his, yeah. So maybe, I know he doesn't have an office manager right now, but the sergeant or something like that. I think there are go-to people that they've talked about before.
So by the way, we interviewed her, me and Bob. Great girl.
The candidate for, yeah. So yeah, that's, hopefully we have
I thought we accepted her
good news
for,
to share, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so moving past that one, I think, anything else for other business?
You had something about the disposition and record letter that you wanted
Oh, yeah,
sent
thank
out?
you. You know, is that your handwriting, Diane?
Yeah,
I was like, what the heck is that?
sorry, my
that's
pen
from
was,
me.
I hate that pen.
So we had, and Joe will love this, we had our first meeting of the record board on Monday. So, and apparently from what Mary Jo tells me, other surrounding towns aren't even that far along. So what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be, with the board support, we'd like to send an email to all department heads. There you go, you love that too, right? So all department heads, and it's basically a triage action. So they need to tell us where they have records and approximately how many boxes, and then that's step one. And then the next step will be, you know, once we have our hands around what we have, what we do in terms of storage and potential contractor. And you have, I think, Mary Jo submitted to you what the wording would be, right?
Yes, and between the two of us, we tweaked it. And I would suggest that it's not just department heads, because you have boards, you have
Boards and
commissions
committees.
and
Yep.
committees that
Yep.
all have paper trails.
So those two email addresses that you guys have, right?
Yep. So did you want to send a formal letter, like with you guys signing it, or just an email saying from the Board of Selectmen?
I'd like to just send an email. It's easier and smoother. Is that good for everybody? Just to kick this thing off and send it from the Selectmen's email, perhaps?
What is it?
It's the letter that,
Mary Jo sent out today?
yeah, that we were working on for the, to get, find out who has what records that need to be
Yeah, Mary
disposed.
Jo did it to all the department heads today, I thought.
No. No, she
No,
didn't.
she had told me she was holding off until we gave her a
Yeah.
thumbs up.
Well, I got it, so I
Yeah,
assumed
because we
everybody-
need to review it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so if the board's okay with that, then let's
I'm running out of
proceed with that. So now we have to do manifests, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Trish.
So just to make sure, I think I'm trying to follow this with Diane and Nancy. Committees like Conservation, Stewardship, and Rec, we have like a slew of files that, you know, right now we could hire a trailer and park it out back. So make sure that we're on that so we can respond.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stewardship, conservation, what was the other one?
Recreation.
Recreation,
Oh,
thank
yeah,
you.
I've got them. The only one I don't think I have is stewardship, so, okay.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'm not seeing the, is it under proposed motions
Yes,
for the other?
there
Okay,
there weren't many motions that I knew of, so.
All righty, so anybody want to start with these? I'll do the first one. I move to sign vendor manifest dated May 17, 2022 in the amount of $781,187.89, of which $731,038.00 went towards the Sanborn Regional School District June 2022 payment.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody want to do the next one?
I
can do
don't have a copy of it, so I can't.
I would move to sign cable vendor manifest dated May 17, 2022 in the amount of $4,593.88.
Second.
Seconded by Charlie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Minutes. I would like to move to accept the non-public and public meeting minutes dated May 11th, 2022 as written.
Second.
Seconded by Charlie. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. That's unanimous. I'm also going to move, well, I can't do that yet. So do we have anything left for public?
Nope.
Okay, so what's going to happen, we're kind of upside down tonight, but we're going to move into a non-public if somebody wants to make a motion. So we'd ask that, we're going to have to cut the cable and ask people to leave, but we appreciate everybody's attention tonight. And hope everybody has a good night and Bob or Charlie, do you want to make the motion to go into non-public?
Good night.
Thank you. Have a good night. Have a good night.
I'll make a motion to go into non-public session, RSA 91-A.
Just hold on for a few minutes.
3-2.
Yep, no,
I
hang
don't
on.
even have my tape recorder. I thought we were going to be downstairs.
Recording stopped.
I just figured it might be quicker not to